Greetings viewers, EricTheCarGuy here, back again with another headlight video for you. It was in a previous video that we replaced the headlights in my 1979 Ford Fairmont with these nice bright Sylvania units. In that video I mentioned doing a video on headlight aiming, which is what we're going to do in this video here today. Now granted, you could take your vehicle, pull it up to a garage door or some other suitable surface and pretty much get your headlights aligned to the point where they're going to work sufficiently. However, what I have for you today are these, and this is a special tool called a Hoppy, or tools I should say, called a Hoppy, and these are what were used to align older style headlights like what we have here on the Ford, and they use them all the way up through the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Modern headlights tend to have different provisions as far as aiming them and aligning them. There's also different equipment available to do this. This is particularly old school, and it's probably going to be hard to track one of these tools down. I bought this one on eBay for I think 40-45 bucks, but if you try to buy the kit new, I know it runs in the hundreds of dollars. That is if you can even find it. I don't even know if they even make these things anymore. I had to go through this process to get my Pennsylvania inspection license. I had to know how to use this tool properly. If nothing else, it'll walk you through the process of how to use a set of Hoppies to aim headlights. So let's start by getting a look at this tool and see what's inside the box with these Hoppies. These are the actual tools themselves. These are the actual aligners. The rest of these things that are inside this box are all attachments to make these things work. Once you get the hang of using these, they really do work well. Here's a couple of books, and one's an instruction manual that shows you how to use it. And this I found was interesting because it's a way to merchandise and market aiming headlights to the public if you're a shop that recently purchased this tool. And some of you might be asking, well, why do they call them Hoppies? Well, turns out the guy that has the company, the Hopkins Manufacturing Corporation, his name is E.L. Hopkins, so I imagine they got the name Hoppy from the last name. In addition to the tool, the Hoppy tool, we'll need, I have this very long screwdriver here that I use specifically for aligning headlights. That's kind of why I got it. Step one does not involve mounting these to the vehicle. Step one actually involves measuring floor slope. I'll grab one of these special attachments here. This one in particular, it's got a level on it, and we're going to head over to that side of the car and get these things set up so that we can calibrate them for floor slope. Something I want to mention here real quick before we get into checking floor slope is make sure all your tire pressures are correct before you start this procedure. In addition, any suspension issues that you might have, sagging coil springs, that type of thing that causes the ride height to be affected, will affect the headlight alignment. So you want to make sure that your suspension and your tires are all squared away before you start this procedure. Okay, before I go and level everything and I get started with checking floor slope, I want to make sure all these dials are set to 0. All right, first we need to set these up for the floor slope, and we're going to do that with this attachment that I just showed you over there. Now it's important that we get this positioned correctly because we need to be able to level it with this knob right here. There's like a little locator tab right there in the front. Well, if you look at these Hoppies, they have little grooves for different places for this to go into alignment. So I'm going to make sure that I get this little alignment notch there lined up correctly here. So now I'll be able to adjust the level here when I set it up, and as you can see, this one says rear wheel unit A, and you want to make sure that this window here is pointed towards the front wheel. So this window with these mirrors and all that stuff needs to be pointed towards the other unit, and you basically just set it down right at the axle. You can just sort of approximate it, but you want to get it so that where it's lined up as much with the center of the axle as possible. And now that it is lined up, you want to make sure to level it. You can see there's that bubble on top there. I'm going to turn this adjustment knob over here so that we can get it leveled out. There we go. All right, now that we know this unit's level, we're going to go do the same thing to the one in the front. Marked on the top here is for the front wheel, pointed towards the back. Once again, I want to leave this opening pointing towards the rear wheel. Line it up with the spindle. It's leveled out. There it is. Now that I've got everything level, there are 3 knobs on the front here. This is the horizontal, the vertical, and there's the floor slope. The one that we're going to turn in order to do the floor slope is this one here. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe you either have to push in or, yeah, no, you just turn the knob. I'm gonna have to turn that knob in order to line up these two units. The way this is set up is when you look through that window, you're actually looking at the other unit down there on the other side. And you see that little yellow line there? You've got to line that up because this one also has one of those little yellow lines. Okay, now you see how those are not quite lined up, those two yellow lines? Now you need to turn that horizontal knob until those two things line up, just like that. Once you've got those lined up, you now have your floor slope. Now we're going to take that reading that we got. We had to tweak that a little bit, not much at all. It looks like it's a -1 is what this is. So that's our floor slope. Once you've done this, if you park the vehicle in the same spot every time, you can just write this number down. Now that we have our floor slope, and I probably should have mentioned you only have to do that on one of the units. So you don't need to do the alignment on both units. You just need to do it on one of them. The other unit is there so that you can calibrate it. But now that we have our floor slope reading, which is just a little bit over this -1, you want to transfer it up to this floor level knob on both units. And in order to adjust this, you need to push this one in and then turn it. You can sit there and do this all day long and it won't move. But I'm going to put it right, as you can see, I'm just barely under that 1 hash mark there, if we want to be specific about it for that measurement. And I'm transferring that up here. So now it's taking floor level into account with all the other measurements. And we do this with both units. And once I've set up the floor level here, both of these knobs get turned to 0. So the horizontal and vertical knobs get turned to 0. The only one that we want to alter is going to be floor slope for now. So now both units have been calibrated for floor level. Now that we've calibrated or calculated floor slope and added it into the calculations of our headlight aimers, we now need to attach the aimers to the headlights themselves. And to be honest, this is where the bulk of this Hoppy kit comes in. You notice most of the things inside this box, with the exception of these two here, which are designed for calibration, all of this stuff here is so that you can attach it to different vehicles. And different vehicles have different headlights, and those different headlights require a different means of attaching them to those headlights. Now, some of you may have noticed on headlights, or some headlights, you will see these 3 little points that stick out from a headlight. And the reason those are there are for aiming headlights, just like we're about to do here today. In this kit, I have this tool here that I'm going to be using, and you'll see that it pretty much, oh, well, no, it's not. I need a different thing that I hope I have. Looks like these are what I'll be using. I'm pretty sure this is what we use on this one. But these, with these adjustable rods, work on different types of vehicles that don't have flat headlights like this. Sometimes they're on a slope, sometimes they're a little bit different, and you can actually make adjustments to the length of these rods by moving them in and out and dialing in these numbers. Now, where do you find these numbers? Well, it just so happens my Acura Vigor has headlights of this type. So now we have a different scenario here on my 1993 Acura Vigor. We still have these 3 attachment points here on the front of the headlight, but the headlight is curved and not flat like before. That's where this device comes in. Now, this, like the other attachment, has all these different numbers, both on the top and the bottom. But how do you know what numbers to set them to? That can be found right on the headlight itself. Now, as you can see, there is an 18H and what looks like a 13V. So that's an 18 horizontal and a 13 vertical. Those are the numbers that you're going to need to set this up. So the horizontal would be this one. Leave this inner one on 0, which I'm going to do. So that inner one I'm going to leave on 0. Then this one, since the horizontal was 18, I'm going to push this in until I get to that 18 mark right there and twist it. So that is now on 18. So that is the 18. Horizontal is this way, vertical is this way. So 13 vertical means that both of these need to come out. Oops. When you move these, it's important that that groove is lined up and there's no number, because when you set a number, you lock it into place. So we need to pull this out till we get to 13. And 13 there. So we have the 13 on both of the uppers. Now we have this tool set up so that we can mount this on this headlight and it'll come out straight. Now in this one, we may need a special attachment to extend the reach out so that we can actually attach this to the headlight. All right, so that's how I would do it if I was aiming the headlights on the Acura Vigor. These, that I showed you just a moment ago for this vehicle, aren't exactly complete. These also have those threaded rods, just like on the Acura Vigor, that I need to insert into here in order to use these on this vehicle. But I'm going to need a minute here to fiddle with these and get these all into place. And once I have that done, we'll circle back and get these headlights aimed. Okay, now that I have these in position, much like I showed you on the Vigor, I'm going to set all of these to 0. This is a flat headlight. It's not a curved surface. So I'm just going to lock all these in to the 0 mark. And then I'm just going to check real quick. Yeah, this fits on all those little attachments there. And once again, I showed you that slot when we were doing that before. Well, still same thing here. These have a pretty big slot in the top there to help locate everything. And push these two things together. There, it's snapped into place. Now for the gross part. A little bit of spit on the suction cup. Yeah, I know it's gross, but it really does help it stick a lot better. Then align those little knobs there. Get those all in place. There's a little handle underneath here that I'm going to push forward until it bottoms out, and then pull back on until it goes into the lock position. And I have a headlight aimer attached to a headlight. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Now it's really important that you have this window facing the other unit. So if you have these on the wrong side, you won't be able to see this, and it's an important part of aiming the headlights. There we go. Now my Ford's looking kind of dorky. These are the adjustments that we're going to be making. You notice there's a slot here and there's a slot here. This is going to be for the horizontal adjustment, and this is going to be for the vertical adjustment. It's that way on both sides. The other side has the same thing, just a mirror image sort of flipped around. Another thing, keep an eye on these things, because sometimes they lose their adhesion and they fall off. That's why I said be careful. These are, these were expensive back in the day. But honestly, this part from here on out is pretty easy. We've done all the hard stuff. Now we just need to make the adjustments. The first adjustment I'm going to do is the horizontal adjustment. And just like before, when we had those two lines that needed to line up, we're going to be doing the exact same thing in here. Now, you see that those two lines are ever so slightly off. Well, in order to correct that, I'm going to turn this screw until they line up. And as I said in the video that I did the installation on, probably not a bad idea to hit this with a little bit of penetrating oil before you get started. Oh, looks like we're just about there. Bam. Okay, there you go. Now that I've done the horizontal adjustment, I'm going to do the vertical adjustment. I'm just going to go into that screw that I told you about earlier. Now it's just a matter of adjusting the screw until the level goes level. And there we go. That headlight is aimed and aligned. Let's do the other side. Just as before, I'm going to start with the horizontal and come in through the side here. Now we'll look in through the inspection window until we can get things lined up. All right, now I'm going to bring these into alignment just like before on the other side. I'm going in the wrong direction. This one was way out. Just about there. When you see that one continuous line, you're good. Now we'll switch over and do the vertical. Now, as before, it's just a matter of dialing in the level. And there we have it. The horizontal and vertical of both headlights have been adjusted. I know that some of you are probably wondering, why have a horizontal and vertical dial on these units? The reason is to check the alignment. So rather than turning the adjustment screws on the headlights, you would turn these dials until things lined up, either the level for the vertical or the horizontal. You would line up these lines in this mirror, just like I was showing before. So the reason why you'd have these other dials is to basically check it, and then if they're out of spec, then you could adjust them that way. Personally, I think if you've got them on there, why not adjust them? I probably should show you how to remove the tools from the headlights. There's a little sort of trigger here. You pull back on that and it just simply comes off. That's what it takes to aim a set of headlights with the Hoppy tools. It's not that difficult once you get everything set up, and particularly getting floor slope and that type of thing figured out. There's also a calibration you can go through with the tool, which I've not covered here, which if you do have one of these sets, you can go through that calibration procedure. It's outlined in the manual. I think the places where you'll run into the most difficulty are when you have those different types of headlights that are curved, such as what was on my Acura Vigor, and you have to come up with those numbers. That can be somewhat challenging to start with, but the actual process of aiming the lights is actually pretty quick and straightforward, as you saw. Now I'll put a shot up of the before and after from what I showed you earlier in the program, so that you can see what it looks like with these headlights that are now aligned as compared to what they were when we started. That will help illustrate that yes, you can use a garage door or something similar to aim the lights, but this would probably be one of your most accurate methods of doing that. As I said, there's other equipment out there that does it. I'll put links in the description to my other video about aligning headlights that don't have those little, for lack of a better word, nipples on the headlights themselves, so that you can go through that procedure. Those oftentimes come with their own levels and things on them, so that's what you use to do those. So those are a little bit different than using a tool like this. But anyway, I hope that information was helpful to you, if not entertaining, and now you have a better idea on how to use a set of Hoppies. If you have automotive questions that weren't addressed in this video, I would ask that you head over to EricTheCarGuy.com. There's a welcome video there to tell you about all of our amazing features there that help you with automotive issues. Also, we post repair videos every Friday here on Eric the Car Guy. Lastly, if you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. Close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, stay dirty. I'll see you next time.